Hello viewers, and welcome to another episode of Journeying Through the Bible. Today we're going to have a look at 15 key lessons that we can learn from the life of Esther. There was a very rich king named Ahasuerus who ruled over 127 territories from India to Ethiopia. Due to the queen's disobedience, he decided to find a replacement. Subsequently, an order was given to gather beautiful young virgins together from all his territories and for a time of preparation to come before the king to be chosen as the new queen. A Jewish man named Mordecai, whose family had been exiled from Jerusalem to Babylon, held an important position in one of the king's fortresses. He had a beautiful young cousin named Esther, whose parents had died, and so Mordecai adopted her into his family, raising her as his own daughter. Esther was included with the virgins to be taken into the king's palace and immediately found favour with the person in charge of the young virgins. However, Esther, under strict instructions from Mordecai, did not reveal her Jewish ancestry. After 12 months, Esther's turn came to be presented to the king. She followed the instruction of the custodian of the women and only took with her what she was advised to into the king's palace. The king loved Esther more than all the other women and made her his queen. Around this time, Mordecai discovers that two of the king's eunuchs were planning to harm the king. This was relayed to Esther, who told the king on behalf of Mordecai, and both eunuchs were hanged, with the event being recorded in the book of Chronicles. Shortly afterwards, the king promotes a man named Haman above all the princes in the land. All the king's servants bowed and paid homage to Haman at the king's command, but Mordecai refused. When Haman learns of Mordecai's ancestry, he decides to take vengeance and tells the king of a people that do not obey the royal laws and suggests that they should be annihilated. The king agrees and permits Haman to bring the new law into action. Mordecai is bitterly distressed by the news and suggests that Esther should approach the king and plead on behalf of her people. Esther reminds him of the death penalty for approaching the king uninvited unless he holds out the golden scepter. Mordecai responds saying that she should not think that she will escape the order more than all the other Jews. That if she remains silent, deliverance will come from elsewhere, but she and her family will perish, and who knows whether she has come to the kingdom for such a time as this. Esther responds that all the Jews in Shushan should fast for her for 3 days and 3 nights, without food or drink. And likewise her maids will fast, and she will then approach the king. Although it is unlawful, she is willing to take the risk. On the 3rd day, Esther approaches the king, and when he sees Esther, he holds out the golden scepter. She requests that the king and Haman attend the banquet she has prepared, and during the banquet, she requests that they attend again the following day. Haman leaves the banquet extremely happy, but was filled with indignation when he saw Mordecai in the king's gate. He went home to call his friends and his wife, boasting about his fortunes, his privileged invite with the king to the banquet, and that again tomorrow his presence is required. But that all this is nothing as long as he sees Mordecai sitting at the gate. His wife suggests that gallows be made, and the suggestion put to the king that Mordecai should be executed. That night the king could not sleep and requests the book of the records of the Chronicles be brought to him. He reads about Mordecai being instrumental in the exposure of the plot to harm him and decides that he should be rewarded. The king asks Haman what award should be conferred on someone the king desires to honour. Haman, thinking that the king was speaking about himself, suggests a royal robe be brought that has been worn by the king, and a horse that the king has ridden with the royal crest on its head, and that the most noble of the king's princes should place these items on the person and parade him around on horseback through the city square, declaring loudly that this person is being honoured by the king. The king tells Haman to do this to Mordecai. Haman afterwards hurries home in shame with his head covered, telling his wife and friends all that had happened. His wife and his wise men warn him that he will not succeed against Mordecai. At the next banquet, Esther asks for mercy for herself and her people, who are due to be killed and annihilated according to the king's new decree. The king discovers that Haman was behind it and commands for Haman to be hung on his own gallows and gives the house of Haman to Queen Esther. When Mordecai comes before the king, Esther explains how he is related to her, and the king takes off his signet ring, which he took from Haman, and gives it to Mordecai, who is then appointed by Esther over the house of Haman. He then orders Mordecai and the queen to write a decree concerning the Jews, and it is sealed with the king's signet ring and letters sent throughout his territories. The decree allows the Jews in every city to gather together and protect their lives, annihilating anyone that would attempt to assault them. The day came, and all the officials of the provinces helped them, and the Jews defeated their enemies with swords, with slaughter and destruction, and Haman's 10 sons were also killed. Mordecai wrote letters to all the Jews that they should celebrate 2 days of the month of Adar every year as a reminder of their rest from their enemies, as the month which was turned from sorrow to joy and from mourning to a holiday. And a second letter about Purim being established was written, and Mordecai became second to the king and honoured amongst all the Jews. So let's now have a look at 15 key lessons that we can learn from the life of Esther. Number 1, traumatic situations in life may be preparing you for something great. 2, take note of the wise counsel in your life. 3, don't lay all your cards on the table. Wait for the right time. 4, go by God's standards, not man's. 5, your position and promotion are not for you alone. God has a much bigger plan than you realize. 6, you need to recognize your appointed time to step up and be counted. 7, employ the support of others when planning a strategic move against the enemy. 8, fasting and prayer can change the trajectory of your life and change your future. Number 9, when you have God's favour, you are protected. So be prepared to take risks and step out in faith. 10, be patient and give God's plan time to unfold. Timing is essential. 11, those plotting evil against you are actually planning their own downfall. 12, your enemy's spoils will become your fortune. 13, support for your cause may come from unexpected places. 14, with God you can decree and declare a bright and triumphant future. And 15, remember the victories God has granted you and celebrate them. Well, that's it for this episode. Join us next time as we journey through the Bible. But until then, take care, stay strong, and keep the faith.